Okay, now, Drew, if you'd like to
All
do
right.
the initial
All
proposals
set?
for the certified and non-certified
All
staff.
right, well, I think what I may do is, can I just spin over and sit next to you, Jim?
Sure can.
Thank you. All right, I've got two initial proposals for the 2 units. We'll talk first about the support staff, the non-certified staff. Who's the chief negotiator for the? All right, excellent. Because I only have one copy of this. Is that all right? We can get more
We have some
copies.
more here.
We have more.
You have more?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent, thank you. Can we get those
Just hand it
distributed? All right. So we got, yeah, that's the certified.
There's none.
We'll give that one to you right now. Very, very simple initial proposal for the non-certified staff, support staff. In short, the board proposes no changes in the current collective bargaining agreement. So no language items as they say. And then on the money items, the board proposes to maintain current contract, but then, which of course provides for step increases and lane increases. And so the initial proposal for base increase would be 0, but to respect the step and lane increases that are already built into the contract. The district, their board estimates that would cost, just the lane and step increases would cost the district $21,000 more next year than in the current year. That's it. That's like I said, a fairly simple proposal for initial proposal for the non-certified staff. Any questions for us on the? Excellent. All right. All right. For the certified staff, I have a copy here. There you go. And that, forgive me, on the highlighting there, that's just the way the copy is. I'll start.
More than one, or?
I just want, do we have any more copies of that proposal that we can share?
Jim, does he have a? Shane, where you
I've got a
going?
draft, I don't want to.
I wrote on mine.
We run all over them.
We appreciate your patience. We kind of hashed through things, and there's a lot of questions and good dialogue on this side of the table. So bearing in mind that this is an initial proposal.
It's fine. We'll get more.
Let's start with the wage proposal there too. Very, very similar once again. Essentially, current contract, the board's proposing no base increase, but to pay the step and lane increases. Our estimate of that increase would be $82,560, just costing the steps and the lane, anticipated lane increases. But as an initial proposal, there'd be no base increase. There are many, as opposed to, in contrast to the support staff, we have several language items that we're proposing for change in the next contract, and I can walk through those. Make sure I've got this. First, for example, in the what we've written it up as we propose that all current contract except the proposed changes here. The description that you have in front of you includes the new language would be underscored. The language, if we're proposing any deletions, that the language is there with it crossed out. So that's the format we used. By the way, the premise is that the proposals from the association, if they're not accepted herein, and I don't know that any of them are, but that they would be initially rejected, and then that would be then the subject of the negotiations back and forth. So the new proposals from us, the first one, and these are in article of the contract. So Article 2 is the first one, that we would change the personal leave slightly to the First Amendment. We're going to start off with something that's probably non-controversial, but there's probably plenty of controversy. So we'll start off. The one just says, except if the superintendent in his discretion, we just would suggest the superintendent in his or her discretion. But then later we'd say approval would be by the superintendent. The current contract says building principal. And that one we're recommending change to the superintendent. On wages and salaries, you have the dollar proposal already. That's Article 5. In 503, we're proposing a change in Article B that relates to educational lanes to provide more supervision by the administration as to which courses may be approved for lane advancement. So the new sentence there, it says, all educational credits must be taken in an approved field of study and shall be from an accredited university or college with pre-approval by the superintendent. Now, you'll see correspondingly at the end, the last document is Exhibit F, so we've monkeyed with that a little bit to just add that step to the process. So those two things are related that way. Okay. The insurance is basically current contract on the money, but we want to substitute a health savings account instead of a tax sheltered annuity in that paragraph A2. I know that the state association has been concerned that tax sheltered annuities are probably not an appropriate item to a cafeteria plan for benefits. And so in my view at least, and this is, we can talk about this later on, or the parties can negotiate this, probably the best fix for that problem is simply to take that money that may have been applied to a TSA previous years. The employee still gets that money, but it'll be instead applied to a health savings account. So this is a budget neutral fix for the board, and it keeps the employees whole from your side of the equation. So it does, instead of going to a retirement, instead it goes to a health savings account. And I did the same change for the dependent coverage for, instead of an annuity, make an HSA. In 7.04, we proposed striking the paragraph about the carrier. Our view that this is permissive language. What I've tried to do with this proposal, too, for those of you with the copy, the written copy, if in italics right below a proposal, we've identified if we thought the language was permissive. So that's my comment there, is just a note to you from your perspective that we're just suggesting that that's permissive language. Obviously, we understand that the level of coverage is a mandatory topic of negotiation. There's no intention here to change the level of coverage or the quality of the benefits or what have you. But who the provider is or who the carrier is using this language is a permissive item, and it allows the board just a little bit more flexibility to buy the best plan it can for the best price that it can get in the market, as long as the benefits are still there. Article 9, employee hours and load. We've identified B and C as permissive language, so we propose to strike those from the contract. I'm going to hasten to add, that doesn't mean that, when I'm talking about planning periods and then this article called deviation, but it doesn't mean that planning periods are going to go away. We just simply propose that they be struck from the master contract. I'm not aware of any plan that it says the planning periods are going to go away, but to keep them out of the master contract allows a little bit more flexibility from a management perspective. Same is true with team planning time. Once again, I don't know that there's any change in the works, but keeping it out of the master contract allows the administration just a little bit more flexibility. Same is true Article 10, employee assignment of employees. This language is located in a couple different spots in the master contract, and we're proposing to strike it in both spots. I think management has every intention to give employees timely notice of their salary schedule, placement, class, subject, and room assignments, but they just don't want to be hemmed in by that July 1 deadline unnecessarily. And once again, that's identified as permissive language. The Article 11, reduction of staff. This 1101, I got kind of a chuckle out of. Whoever wrote, there must have been something that prompted that language in 1101. All employees under this agreement are covered by the provisions of this article. Generally, all employees are covered by the agreement, unless otherwise provided. So but there must have been a hang-up somewhere at some time. Somebody thought that they weren't included, so somebody thought they better be. All employees are covered. But anyway, I just noted that's a permissive item of language. But there is some real substance, though, to the next proposal, 1102. We've had a grievance in this district over the reduction of force language, which is pretty much a straight seniority type paragraph as it's currently written. And even when seniority doesn't track certification, So what we've proposed is language that's common in a lot of other districts. I think we've borrowed this language right here from either Clear Lake or Mason City, for example, that just, it still respects seniority, but it does so within classifications. So if we're making reductions, for example, in the elementary levels, which is classification A, but we've got less senior people that are teaching, advanced math or something like that, that those less senior people that really don't have anything to do with elementary school aren't affected by the reduction in force, or vice versa, as far as that goes. And so we've borrowed that language that just has subject matters. In other words, some people call them silos, where people are certified to teach or are teaching, and they're not affected by a reduction in force that may be going on in another silo. So that is this very significant, but we think a very important change to adopt this classification-based system instead of just a straight seniority that's district-wide. Article 12 is that same, once again, that assignment issue that I talked about a second ago. It also pops up in the transfer article. In 12.03, we've described a strike to the last paragraph of the transfer, which requires after a decision on transfer is made, whether there's a meeting that takes place, whether there's a dialogue about why this transfer, that, which we recognize invariably gets into, a comparison of the teacher who got the transfer to the teacher who did not get the transfer, which invariably then has teacher B knowing all about teacher A's business or whatnot, and we just thought, let's just strike that language. The Article 13, the evaluation procedure, we've tried to streamline it some by eliminating some of the deadlines and by eliminating some of the hoops that the evaluator has to jump through in terms of getting the consent of the employees being evaluated, the teachers being evaluated before each step of the process unfolds. So we've tried to make it much cleaner, hopefully faster for the evaluator. Then there's these elements like down in 1307 as well too about employee assistance with this, which is really a separate topic from evaluation itself. I know that they're related, but the assistance or the items for improvement to the employee are really a separate process than evaluation. So we've proposed to strike that language. We've also struck the language regarding all observations or with full knowledge of the employee and solely for the purpose of evaluation, because frankly that I'm not sure that's really realistic when you think about it. So if an administrator happens to see an employee hit a kid, suddenly that can't be the substance of an evaluation. I think everybody in the room would agree that would be unprofessional practice. So I think I understand the point of it, but at the same time, I think it's probably more subject to causing harm than good. So we've proposed striking 1308, and then 1310, that right to grieve. We see that as permissive language once again. Typically, I think the most effective means to dispute an evaluation is simply write a rebuttal. Rebuttal becomes part of the personnel file, just like the evaluation itself, rather than engaging in the grievance process. Duration and effective agreement, just update as appropriate. We do have one recommendation on the supplemental schedule. There's some recognition here of some gains that have been made relative to speech, and so there's proposal to bump speech. We're certainly open to talking about the supplemental schedule where there's been substantial gains, increases in programming or participation by students and that sort of thing. Bearing in mind that this is, you've probably heard, is not, this year on top of last year or whatnot are not flush budget years. So, but we're going into this process hoping that we're able to work with the association and come to a mutually acceptable place that everybody can live with in terms of the raises and in terms of the new language for the employees. I think that's it. Do you have any questions for us? I know we're slow in getting started here, and I'm going to take a little bit of the blame for that. and I've been visiting with Jason from time to time. And this is just a hot time of year. I know the Uniserv directors and those of us other advocates on this side you're in two places at once sometimes. But what I know the board's priority is to try and reach a good compromise with both units and get matters on the right track for next year.
Thank you. Can I ask Jolene, maybe you would know, has the TLC paperwork, whatever you need to do, signed by the superintendent, been given to the superintendent?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, hasn't been given to him yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
I was told that when I talked to Jason, that it was given with the corrected language that we were looking into. There was just a couple language issues that there was a problem with, and Jason gave those to Mr. Nelson.
Recently?
A month ago? So right after we got it. We looked at it and he sent it in.
For the TLC?
That's my understanding when I talked to Jason and he did. Well, I can call him, look into it.
That would be good.
That piece is probably out in front of this piece, and I'm glad it's out there, but hopefully we'll get that wrapped up just as quickly.
Jody, do you know if the language was talking about the TSS money at all?
No, it was just understanding language. It just, the sentences didn't make a lot of sense, so Jason and I just kind of looked over them and he adjusted them accordingly, is what I told. The money didn't change hands, nothing.
No, I think it was more
Seniority, nothing like that.
clarification.
Okay.
Just a little clearer language.
Yes.
And that MOU we were looking at, I don't think it was a money thing at all.
No money at all.
Is your side that all teachers will get TSS money?
Not on the MOU thing. I don't think that's a money thing.
Not on TSS.
I think it was more clarifying language on it.
Okay.
Nothing else was changed.
All right, we may be able to wrap that one up then pretty quickly. Jason and I talked about perhaps sort of fast forwarding right to mediation. Has he talked to you folks about that as well? And I think, I didn't hear anybody on the board think that was a bad idea, so maybe mediation would be a good idea, maybe just jump right to that step.
That'd be a good idea.
All right.
Will you and Jason set the date up then and contact us?
Sure, be happy to. And then work with you guys, make sure there's the committee and the administration is available, and we'll get it booked. Anything
Okay.
else? That's it for that agenda item? All right, thank you, everybody. Okay. Did you want me to stick around, or may I be excused?
Why don't you just hang around for a little bit?
Yep, you have
All
to.
right. We're going to move on to budget reductions. Kevin, do you want to come forward too and help us out with that? Is there a proposed plan that we have going on for budget reductions?
And what, I guess we need to clarify, first of all, what that is for, it needs to be reduced. I've recommended you don't need to cut any more unless you're going to replace art in elementary. And then that would have to, funds for that would have to come up. Concern with that is next year is the year that I think hits this school more than any other. So you need to focus on that budget. And if you're going to do that, you need to look very closely at everything. But right now, I'm recommending you stay where you're at, go forward. Next year is your big year. You'll have a new superintendent to guide you through that. You've got Gary Sinclair who's going to help you. Go also look at that. But the key is what we get next year and new money. The second year. We know what it is now for next year, for the following year. You're doing cuts a year in advance. If you rehire that art position, then you will more than likely, that'll be the first layoff the next year. And if you're gonna do that, make sure you explain to that person it's a possibility, it could be 1 year only. The key is open enrollments and what the state will give you in funding. Those are two things we cannot predict. We can tell you where we're at now. But you've reduced enough in early retirements and everything else, at this point, you're pretty close. So it's just a matter of what your decision on art. You know, again, I'd like to reemphasize, we do not want to cut anything. We want to add, but there's no money to add. And it's getting tighter and tighter at the state, even though their coffers have more money than they originally told us. So I think you're down that item to start with. If you're going to do that, then we'll go ahead and advertise.
Yeah, I've looked at the retirement savings, I don't know, countless times. Now that we've filled the positions, I know where we're at on that. And this is obviously based on this year's salary schedule. I obviously don't know what's gonna happen for next year. If you were to fill the art position, like we did with the PE position, we'd be at a savings of approximately $258,000 in early retirement. That includes salary, benefits, etc. If we did not fill the elementary art position, it'd be just right around $310,000 in savings in salaries and benefits. So,
What do you say in the position of art would cost?
if you were to hire a first year, just under $51,000 in salaries and benefits. It's $50,989.66.
Okay,
That's, like I said, that's health, you know, I mean, that's all their benefits, that's everything included, so.
it's my understanding that a quarter of that could have come out of a separate fund, is that correct? Or that-
We applied for, when we did our at-risk application, we applied for the max amount, which was $336,000. We received $206,000 from the state. So that's just their funding formula, that's how it came down to. They didn't grant any full application for any of the school districts. So with that being said, we're still trying to figure out how to piece that all together as far as the benefits and everything else. So, I mean, that's not gonna cover everything that we needed to. And even if you were to, you know, code, you know, a quarter of that approximately, you're looking, you know, $12,000 in savings from general fund if you were to use that risk, you know.
Which helps.
Which helps, yeah, exactly.
So is that with the TLC money? Is that taking that out of the general fund, that position?
TLC is a separate,
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
It's-
paid now by the general fund, so
Yes,
is that
but
But you can
subtracted?
replace,
yeah.
you can replace those individuals once they get into the TLC program.
Correct,
Would you start off at the base?
But they might be cheaper.
correct.
You would start off at the base.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at TLC as like a savings at all. I wouldn't look at it that way at all.
You proposed it supposedly.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it as a savings towards general. I wouldn't count on that whatsoever. I don't know what else. Yeah.
So with all the early retirements,
Yes.
there's no other reductions that we've scheduled?
Not that I've been made aware of. Nobody's communicated with me. I don't know. How we're at on.
Sarah,
That's
Sarah,
just the early retirement, what
Correct.
you told us.
Yes, yep.
We're not cutting any
Right.
secretaries
Correct.
or
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. Yeah, there's
that-
no, right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's just savings from early retirement, period, yep.
So I keep hearing from Mr. Nelson that next year we'll probably be cutting administration positions too, but I'm not sure that once you cut something, you're never gonna get it back, and I'm not. The leadership committee, are they actually gonna be a curriculum coordinator?
I think that's,
No,
Sure.
I have no actual
Designations?
designation at this point, but I can talk a little bit about TLC in terms of the roles that people would have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't want to seem like any kind of official.
Uh-huh.
So what we would have is the TLC coordinator, which in the plan we're calling it district learning coordinator. I don't know why. I wrote it. They would essentially be in charge of Iowa core alignment, professional development pieces, data analysis, helping with a lot of like the current state reports that go out. Some of writing some of the SMART goals and some of those pieces there. So a lot of the curriculum mapping, which is kind of, so a lot of it is very similar to what a curriculum director would do, only kind of expanded beyond into helping with some of the instructional coaching, helping the instructional coaches, team leaders, lead their teams. So it is very similar to a curriculum director position with some other responsibilities, I should say.
Who's doing those jobs right now? Is it building principals?
Yes.
Building principals are
Thank
curriculum
you.
directors.
Yeah,
So
they are both building principals.
that would be
My
off
understanding is
their
like a
plate.
building principal
No,
slash
no,
curriculum.
because all the
director.
reporting
Right.
has to do. They're not doing the state reporting though. State reporting, the principals still have to do.
Yes,
curriculum.
and so just in loose conversations, nothing obviously definitive, you know, there's a lot of pieces that the TLC coordinator could kind of take over or at least find the data from and get prepared for principals. So all they'd have to kind of do is some input pieces as part of that data analysis piece. But yes, not actually necessarily clicking the submit button or anything, but helping with a lot of those pieces to try to help take some of the load off. So that would be one position very similar to like a curriculum director. Then there's an instructional coach for each building, and they are, they will help with some PD pieces in terms of figuring out what the teachers really feel like they need, and then helping get that information out. Obviously, they'd be doing what we call coaching cycles, working with groups of teachers, helping them unit plan or lesson plan, or you know, build up some strategies. If the teacher says, hey, my group of students is really struggling in vocabulary, you know, helping them find some strategies, more strategies to help them with those areas. And then we have what we call team leads, which really isn't anything taking away from the classroom time, but they'd be leading like their PLCs and their AIW groups and those kinds of things.
The building leaders, those are the half-time positions?
There's 3 building leaders, but there's a instructional coach for each building, and then there's TLC. They're all 3 full-time.
So
There are
it's
no half-time
3
positions.
positions
3 full-time.
that we would have to be rehiring.
Yes. So the way the TLC budgeting works is, at least at the suggestion of the state, is the 3 people that took the positions, you consider their basically income out of general fund. But then the way the TLC budgeting works is we had to budget into our TLC income paying for the 3 people that would come in to replace them, as well as all the supplemental pay that goes for all the leadership positions.
Mhm.
And so, initially when the budget was put in, it was estimated at $50,000 each for 3 teachers to replace in the classroom, the 3 teachers moving into leadership positions.
Right.
And then any kind of supplemental pay for any of the leadership positions, whether you're the DLC instructional coach or team lead. All that supplement is also covered by TLC grant money.
Mhm.
And then there's also some budget in for things like trainings, covering for substitutes when teachers need to be out of the classroom.
And that's
Some
money that we
supplies.
get to keep here, or do we have to send some of it to Garner?
Nope, absolutely every single dollar stays here.
We're
That's
talking,
not what we've been
talking about
told.
open enrollments. The money
Oh.
follows open enrollments.
Well, I should say, at the time, it was if the school district didn't get approved for a TLC, that, like if a student went to Garner, if they did not have a TLC plan, then the money would have stayed here
For 1 year.
for 1 year. Garner, I don't know if they've,
They have one
and
now.
some of the money will go there then. It's
Okay.
based off your enrollment.
let's find out what that, you know how much it is per kid, so we can figure it out and give you a copy of how much goes out.
And it's, yeah. Find it. The numbers changed since way back in October when initially we got
But Jackie,
approved, so I'd have to see
what
what
you're
that
bringing
was.
up, there may be some savings in one of the ones we hire
That's
versus
what
the
I-
salaries.
Right,
That's
like
what I
if,
said too.
let's say that it's Kim, and now we're paying her out of TLC money, and we hire back her position cheaper, then we might pick up
Yeah.
some money
It's
there.
possible.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. We've had all the reductions with early retirement through the elementary, and we've replaced one teacher. I'm going to ask one of our elementary teachers, since you're here, are you comfortable with the size of classrooms that we're going to be having next year?
The number of students per class
Correct.
depends upon the grade level, but no.
Do you have more information for me than that?
Sure do. It depends upon the grade level, but right now I have 26 students in my class, and my teaching partner has 28, which is too many. You know, it's hard to give individual attention to students. And anymore, maybe it's the older I get, but I think students today are very different than they used to be. And students come in with a lot more needs and a lot more demands that are not covered perhaps by special ed or are not covered by an at-risk program. It's hard to take care of all of them. It's hard to make sure you're getting done with all the assessments that are needed to be done. It's hard to handle 28 kids in a classroom. Can it be done? Yes. Do you do it very well, or as well as you could if you had fewer students in there? No.
Mr. Nelson, didn't we get a grant for Title I money for a half-time teacher?
Yep, we have that.
Have we ever looked into the possibility of using that half-time individual for the Title I and also help out with the classrooms that are larger?
We've looked at all combinations. Your money only go so far, hire so many employees. Right now, they're using it to hire a full-time person. And if you want that spread out, we can give you where the money goes, which teacher, if you want that. But it's being used currently for instructor.
Title I money is?
Yeah.
We're using it
For
for
Title
full-
I.
for Title I person.
And summer school and some other things.
Summer school.
Well, we didn't hire anybody,
Just half-time.
but we did hire a
Yep.
halftime.
Yep, 2.5 days a week. Yep.
And then with federal funds, you gotta, if you don't use them, you lose them, so we gotta use it all.
Yeah, Title I, they pay for the teacher's salary. There's a half-time teacher, and then that's what we're gonna use to pay for our summer school. I mean, once we get done paying for summer school, I mean, there's no money.
There's none left.
No. We're using that to the full
So
capacity.
Kelly, you're full-time special ed, is that correct?
Yes.
And you have, I don't even know how many students they have.
Well, on my roster, I have 12 students, but I spend, depending on the day, 3 to 4 periods in co-taught classrooms.
Oh,
So I have 12 students that I serve in 3 periods of my day, and then the other 4 periods I'm co-teaching, 3 periods co-teaching, and then 1 period I have a prep and,
you have some.
oh, excuse me, I'm a 7/8 teacher, that's right. 7/8 is special ed, 1 period is social studies.
Which comes out of the general.
Sorry. I was like, I know I'm in a gen ed classroom 4 periods, but that's right, 1 is just mine specifically.
Kevin, can you look into this? Maybe I dreamed it, but I don't think I did. I read in the paper last week that the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation was going to be funding the summer reading program.
I called the state and they say nothing about it.
Okay,
But
He's
if
dead.
if you find anything out, let me know.
I will.
Hopefully it's gonna leave something to this.
Maybe he can back to talk to you.
We're such close friends.
So the issue is if we need art teacher. Is that correct? We have to decide that. Have we had our, has it been out in the papers? Have we advertised?
It's been advertised, had 2 or 3 applicants, I think. I have
We
to
have
check.
gotten some applications.
2 or 3, I think. I'll have to check. Just remember though, your problem next year, probably 2 times or triples.
Well, that's why we gotta start this year.
No. Well, you gotta know how many kids you're gonna have, and you need to know what the state's gonna give you.
You can't know that.
Yeah.
So, you
And
know,
I
look at,
appreciate everything Tamisha's done, but I'm still wondering if we couldn't use that half-time administrator and use that for hiring our art teacher. Moving her maybe
For special ed director? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, I want to go on record. You will lose money. You also will be cited for not compliance. And the big one is, who's going to do the evaluations of all of them? And they didn't get done last year. And so we want to make sure they're done this year. But be very careful there, because you're also hitting a funding source there.
For what?
A funding source, up to $200,000 a year that she's in charge of bringing in. That's not an easy thing and all the state reports go with
I
it.
understand that, and I realize that.
Okay.
And I, like I said, appreciate everything she does. I'm sure she does a wonderful job.
You're out of compliance in this
But-
district for over 10 years.
But
We're now in compliance.
Just looking at a position,
Okay.
not looking at her personally, she could possibly move into Cali part-time and still have her
No.
full-time special ed position. And we could hire an art teacher with those funds.
You have to be certified to evaluate.
And are you,
And I'm certified. She's certified also.
as a principal?
No, as certified to be able to certify and evaluate teachers.
Correct, I know that.
That's a course you have to be certified in
Yes,
through the
I know
state.
that, I know that.
She's the only one that has that in special ed.
Don't the principals have it?
I say what?
Principals,
Principal can do it, but how do you get them done? Can't.
well, if Callie's, or the TLC person is taking some of the load off the principals through curriculum, would that free up some
Exactly.
time? for them
Not in
to do
special
this?
ed. It's a totally different category.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they don't have to do all the curriculum things anymore because a TLC person is doing that, would they have more free time to do it?
I guess I'd ask each principal to bring in what they do for curriculum and show you.
And how many teachers
Who's
are
gonna
there
pick it
to
up?
evaluate? How many teachers are there
just
to
throwing it out
evaluate?
there.
They have to be done every 3 years and some every year.
How many special ed teachers are there?
I don't know the number. So,
8. Thank you.
there are 8 certified teachers.
8 special ed
teachers.
And they only have to be.
plus all the aides.
Yep.
How many are there?
I wrote it in that thing, I think. I can't remember, it was 13, 17, whatever I wrote.
But
Those
once
have to be
every
done
3
annually.
years, they
Nope.
have to do this?
Paras have to be done every.
Minimum every 3 years.
17.
I'm just not comfortable not having elementary art. A school the size of Cal has elementary art. I talked to them about sharing that position, and they said they utilize that full-time and they wouldn't be able to share. I'm having concerns about the classroom size in elementary. Yeah, I know we gotta make cuts, but I think the cuts we're making are hurting the students.
I agree.
I think cutting art would be a bad place to go.
I agree.
I think the community would really be upset. That's really important for those kids.
You can just see more open enrollment because we're not offering something that Cal offers.
Right.
You're probably going to offer it, if you rehire, that's your decision, it'd be 1 year. They're the lowest on the totem pole. If you got to cut 400,000 next year,
All the people that we're hiring for next year to replace
Are low on.
the leadership, they're low on the totem pole, yeah. They're all gonna be the same.
Right.
You can't just specify that individual just because they're teaching art.
no, you're doing that position.
That's why I feel we have to look other places too. We have to look at administration. We have to look at all those issues. And I'm sorry, but like I said, I'm sure she's done a wonderful job. We didn't have her before this. The AEA, I know, can help with these things. You know, maybe with better direction, to do as good a job as she did.
Janie, which one are you talking about now? Which position?
The Tanisha's
Okay.
administrative.
Okay. Well, I'm going on record, you will lose money, and you'll get cited. And you have to have a approved program. Right now, she's qualified, nobody else is.
I move we hire a K-6 art teacher.
I'll second that.
I guess there's been a motion for hiring. Are we hiring? Are we combining?
Hiring.
You're hiring.
How would we combine it?
We already have an art teacher in high school.
You're replacing the current resignation.
Yeah, the current one is K-6 that left. So we're just replacing the K-6 person that's leaving. Right? And we already have a 7-12.
Because
art
if you
person.
don't hire a K-6, and let's say you take Jody and split her time, they're still not gonna get their full.
Now you have a
art.
K-12 art teacher, and scheduling at the high school would be a nightmare.
I'm torn with this. I agree. I want that individual, but we don't have the money. I don't like the idea of laying off people either. I don't think that's fair.
You know, but all these first-year teachers that we're hiring, if we have to lay off people next year, they've got a year of experience. It'll be easier for them to get another job. Hopefully, we don't have to do that, but if we did, they're still better off for having a year of experience.
But I feel badly about laying off teachers and not looking at our whole system. You know, I'd rather have teachers.
I'm not saying that. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying,
understand
let's
what you're
hire an art teacher.
Kevin, you can repeat for me again where we're at with money if we hire an art teacher.
So if you hire art, like we did with the PE, you do the savings of $258,000. If you don't hire elementary art, you're just under $310,000. Based on this year's salaries.
And my understanding is the people who applied for the job were first-year teachers. right?
We don't know, we can't ask that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
We hired the best teacher, but we know we're looking
Right.
for a young one.
Okay. So you haven't seen the applications?
I haven't, no, I just
Oh,
know that I
okay.
was told there's 2 or 3 in.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there's a couple, but I don't.
If you vote yes, we'll check right away in the morning and we'll call.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can only make a reduction of the 258. There's still gonna be other, you know, because of the TLC, we're not sure as to what our cost is, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but if you
Totally.
hire that first year person, you're still gonna have a savings compared to somebody.
But what he's saying is it might be less than that. Is that what you're saying? It might be less than the
Yeah, look at the
258, or more, I
savings.
mean.
You can't look, the TLC is not a savings.
You
You
can't,
can't look
No.
at.
That's
Especially
not
if
what
you
it-
I'm
have to pay
saying.
my salary. If, for instance, I got the TLC position, you'd be paying my salary still next year. Out of the TLC money,
Right.
you would pay the replacement. So you won't save anything by getting, for instance, if a first-year teacher came in my role.
Oh, I was thinking it was the other way around.
Yeah, you won't save anything, because general
Oh, that
fund
was
has to
so
pay
not
my
made clear
salary.
to us. Okay.
Yeah, see,
The only thing TLC will pay of my salary next year, if I got a position, for example, would be the supplemental pay. But then it would also pay for the first year, if, for instance, if it was a first-year teacher to replace me, my replacement. You can't, the general fund has to pay my salary next year. The TLC can pay the supplement and my replacement.
What would be your supplemental pay?
Like, it depends on what position you get. There's a $2,000 supplement, there's a $5,000 supplement, and there's a $10,000 supplement based on 5,
Oh,
10, or
okay.
15 extra days.
Nothing that you currently have?
No.
Like not student council?
No, no.
Yeah, okay.
You would, general fund has to pay my salary next year, but it can pay the supplement for doing the extra duties as TLC, and it can pay for the replacement for my position.
But your salary right now does not come out of the general fund because you're out of
Sorry,
the special
you're
ed
right.
fund.
I'm special ed, you're right. But in theory, that's how it's written. So we're-
But for your instance, that doesn't cut it.
Right. So let's say Jolene took the TLC director position. You have to pay Jolene's salary out of the general fund next year, but TLC will pay with the supplemental fee for her extra days, and the TLC will pay for her replacement. So you won't save any money by, for instance, hiring someone who's a first-year teacher for a TLC director position. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's the way it's written.
So it actually is bad for us to hire someone out of special ed for the TLC thing, because now,
Yeah.
right?
Don't throw that out there.
Man, I just put myself.
Switching that to the general fund instead
Hey,
of
that's
the.
what it is. That's fine.
So we're gonna have to hire her replacement and another replacement too, correct, for special ed? Is that right?
Lost me.
Pardon me?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
We're gonna have to replace her in
Yes.
special ed.
Yes.
And another position also, looks like on the agenda.
If she,
Yes.
If
the
she gets-
decision isn't even
Yeah,
made
if
yet.
Right,
Right.
if she
Takes
applied and
two.
if she got the job.
Yeah, well, it's on the agenda.
We got there.
And for instance, if you looked at the two people to be approved on Thursday, they are both special ed positions.
Like this afternoon, I didn't see any schedules, so.
Yeah.
I still believe there's other areas we can look at.
Yeah.
Okay. We can continue to look for budget reductions, can't we? It doesn't have to all be done tonight, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if, can we actually, there was a motion, but is that on our agenda to,
Yeah, I don't have a copy of your agenda in front of me.
my agenda says budget reductions.
Yeah, there's no motion to hire.
It's an open meeting.
Yeah. You said it
I'd
that
be
way.
inclined to tell you that's probably, you might move to amend your agenda for that item, but it's probably budget reductions and then a vote to hire probably.
Otherwise, you have another meeting Thursday if you want 2 days
Yeah.
to
Right.
Yeah.
think about it.
So we can
Yeah.
put that on the agenda for next Thursday.
Sure.
And then we can discuss it more.
This Thursday,
This Thursday.
Correct,
I'm not-
in 3
Thursday.
days.
yes.
Okay.
But I don't want
Can
to
I
have a vote
amend my
tonight.
motion then to table that to Thursday?
The table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Financial information you need before that, give Kevin or I a call.
Do we need to vote on tabling the motion?
I don't think we need
Yeah,
a
no,
motion to
you're
put
fine.
something on the agenda for the
No.
next meeting. I think we're fine.
Yep, you're fine.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Moving on to board direction to superintendent. Um, Drew, if you'll assist me, on our last budget, we made we passed the resolution for the budget for last year, but for some reason, we did not work through our income surtax. That was not brought in for the present year. And the board directed Mr. Nelson to do that, and that was not done. I guess, I don't know why, I talked to Mr. Nelson about it, and he said he didn't make a mistake, so I don't know.
I'd like to see your resolution where you ordered that first of all, because you would have lost money.
That doesn't make any difference.
We-
The board directed you to have the income tax surcharge. It doesn't have anything to do about
I'd like to see a
money or
motion on
not. I'm just saying, this is just one instance. Mr. Nelson, I don't feel you follow through with board direction the way you should. And this is one instance where I bring it up. You know, if you just.
The board president hasn't even called me, so how would I have any communication with you? You refused to call us, so
That's because I refuse to be yelled at.
I never yelled at you. So how would you like to resolve that?
Well, you know, not following board direction is, I guess, I don't know what to say. Help me out, Mr.
Yeah,
Brackman.
the agenda item is to provide direction to the superintendent on tonight's agenda, right?
Correct.
Right, well, I think the board can discuss what directions it may want to provide the superintendent going forward. I don't know that this is a performance evaluation about something that happened before, but if the board wants to provide direction to the superintendent on performance of any of his duties going forward, I think that would be an appropriate subject for the board to discuss and take action on as it deems appropriate.
Drew, I'd like to go in closed session now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is, I don't know if they want to engage in evaluation.
You're gonna get sued.
And there is not a closed session on the agenda for
No, there's
tonight, so I'm
not.
not going to recommend the board go into closed session. But you understand the difference I'm saying? If you want to talk about something that happened in the past and you want to evaluate whether it was done or
I'm not
done well
evaluating.
or whatever, that's a different topic.
I don't think I'm evaluating, I'm just saying, it's right here on paper that the board directed him to do something and it wasn't done.
Okay? Then the item on the agenda tonight would be to provide directions to the superintendent. And so if there's action that you think the board ought to take, then that would be an appropriate topic for discussion.
Okay? I would ask the
Are you,
board.
are you saying that we just want to make sure that what is printed in the paper and is what is actually happening, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't know what happened last year. I don't know how that got.
You've had Gary Sinclair come in 3 times, best expert in the state. You end up getting more money, not less.
I'm not saying that. Why was it ever written this way last year? Do you know?
I didn't know that.
No.
You have a different business manager, you've got lots of different changes this year. Now, if you want to make it successful for the next month, I'd say go for it, but you're getting yourself in more jams as you go here.
What you're saying is it would be better to put a 0 in that column for next year,
I haven't
like
seen,
we did this year.
I have not seen it. The board president has not discussed it with me, has not called me on this.
I'm saying what we did last year, you know, the income tax surcharge that was 0 instead of, that is your recommendation for next
Yes.
year.
We had a
And
choice.
we should just make sure that that's how it's printed in the paper and that's what the board votes on.
I would ask your consultant, who's the best in the state, what he recommends, and that's what he
Yeah.
recommended. We followed his lead.
I got it. I understand that. I just don't know why it wasn't written
It's
the
getting
same
old,
way.
printing in the paper that we lost money, we didn't. There's never been a retraction. So,
And there
I'm
will
not saying
be.
we lost money, it was, okay.
I think it's prudent that the superintendent of any school look for the best way to make the most money that he can for that said school. You've heard Gary Sinclair 3 times explain it to you. Listen to me, Lynn. I've been listening to you all night. Now you're going to listen to me. 3 times it's been explained to you by the best money man in the state of Iowa with school finance. We did not lose any money. To me, that's a win. If we just broke even, it's a win. Because nothing here in a school makes money. Everything we're looking at tonight was spend, spend, spend. Opportunities to save money? No, no, no. Spend. He didn't lose us a dime. Now, put up or shut up.
I think
Drop it.
That's uncalled for.
Jackie is, I don't care, I've had things said to me uncalled for. Jackie's okay with it, and Jackie is as prudent of a person here to see what money's doing, and I'm okay with it. And I believe I can speak for Scotty, and he's okay with it. The best money man in Iowa, school finance, 3 times. Enough. You got a vendetta.
No, we
Either put
don't.
it up or shut up.
No, we don't.
Bull.
Well,
you gotta represent kids and families here.
that's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I hope the community keeps you accountable then.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
And we expect communication to you from us, not just to Jim, just to Scott, also to us.
Everybody's been invited down, Jane. Everybody. And that was a lie. You were lied to by others. Okay, they came in one time together, one time in the last 6 months,
Really?
over my health. Okay, individually, they've come in a couple times. You've all been welcome to come in also.
I
A
just
couple of you have.
I don't know when you think I come into the school.
I didn't say that.
I work
I just said
during the
expect
day.
communication, that's what I said.
You just said I come into the school with Jim.
He
Say
said that.
Okay,
He
we're getting
said
off-
that.
We're getting
He
off.
said that.
He said that.
I just assumed that the board would do their discussion at the board table. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up on this item? If not,
I would like to make a motion to not allow our superintendent to incur any future expenses or travel or use a credit card without prior approval.
You have changed your board policy. That's something last month you didn't do. Okay, you got your attorney here, ask him. Your power comes with board policies. If you give something outside that, you gotta change it, okay? What you need to do is motion that I can't spend anything, right now it's $5,000.
Right.
Okay?
That's the way.
But you're also getting into my reputation here, Jane. You called from Florida, and we got on tape saying that we met how many times a week? We never met. We met one time. You were complaining that they were meeting all the time. Didn't happen. So somebody lied to you. As far as mileage, we don't know we got mileage this year at all. Last year was the end of it. Because the employee pays most of it, which is unfair. But nobody's paying anything now. So there's no mileage this year at all.
thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else anybody wants to?
I think you've got a motion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have, did I hear a motion, Jane?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you have a motion, Lynn, so.
But there was in a second.
No, I just didn't know, the discussion got,
Right, right.
I just didn't know, maybe I'm doing Josie's job here, I'm sorry. But,
So tell me if I have a motion and a second.
I just heard a
Yeah,
motion,
just
that's
a
all.
motion.
But I'm
I-
just
I-
asking
Second.
if it was one. Our board policy doesn't state that. Is that anything that you can actually?
No, I think the board can take action
Direct.
to provide direction to the superintendent, regardless of that particular policy. I think that the item on the agenda is to provide direction to the superintendent. I think you can do so. The question, I think the motion was without prior approval. Was that the
Correct.
motion? So, so I think that it's a legitimate motion. I don't know if it has a second. But I interrupted you partly because I thought you were moving on without entertaining whether there was going to be a second. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're right. Okay, is there a second? There's been a motion.
I'll second it.
Teresa.
We have to have discussion on that.
Right.
Let's have discussion.
Well, what's the big deal here? If you guys don't, if you were to just tie his hands, why don't you just write a check and have him go home? Is that what you want?
If you do such a thing, who are you gonna, we need a superintendent. Somebody's
Well,
gotta sign
then
the form.
let him do his job.
Then let him do his job. Just leave him alone. He's
Let
got
him do his
3
job. Leave him
months
alone.
left. He hasn't broke us in the first 3 years, in these 3 years that he's worked here for us. Let him finish his job. Quit badgering him. Quit cutting him behind his back. Quit pulling the crap you did tonight, because I think it was the cheapest shot I've ever seen. Let him do his job. 3 months. I told you that the other night, Lynn.
You are not the president.
Pardon?
You are not the president, and I think that's wrong to speak.
You want input? I give him input the other night when I called him on the phone.
And I think money is very, very important.
Don't look like it to me
Money
tonight.
is- But it's not why
We
everything.
want a teacher, an art teacher for the kids.
You're gonna have a lot bigger problems next year.
Well, we'll deal with them then.
Yeah, you will.
Yes,
I
won't we?
guarantee you.
Because nobody wanted to make any cuts.
The key is we want a nice transition. You have a new minister coming in,
Correct.
we want to help them all we can.
Correct.
Okay? And that includes in June, you decide whether you want me to stave my vacation, work with him, or take it. If you don't, that's fine, but I want to plan ahead.
Do you know how much vacation you have?
I'd have to check.
I think it'd be good if you used that before, so we didn't have to pay extra.
Well, that will be June, that will be June. So, Can't leave before that, we got too many state reports to do. But-
Okay, there's no more discussion.
I've just, can I go back to what you said about mileage? No one has paid mileage?
This year, no one's getting mileage. I'm not aware of
Ever.
anybody that has this year.
I mean, no teacher, if they had to.
I haven't seen that been turned in, and no administrator's turned it in. I have not turned it in after last year's fiasco over 25 cents a mile.
Got it.
It wasn't worth it.
I think there's been some on the bills.
Can't hear you.
I think there's
I
been
thought
some
there
on the
was
bills
too,
that I
but-
looked at, there's been mileage.
Not for me.
I didn't say that.
Oh,
I said-
well, I'm not aware of it. I'd have to research and have Kevin look it up.
Drew, I don't want to do anything illegal. Help me out.
No, you have a motion and a
I'll
second.
second.
You've had discussion to provide that direction to the superintendent regarding incurring any more
Expenses.
future expenses, travel, credit card, or mileage expenses without prior approval of the board.
I guess I'm just looking at video camera over here. I wish that was saved for something else.
It's already on there.
Yeah.
It's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
Yeah, roll call.
I got it.
I'll be a yes. All right. Need a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're done.
Can I just say that our superintendent is worried about his reputation, but as teachers, he doesn't care about our reputation. And he has to contribute to that.
On the agenda.